So in this lesson, we are going to look at finding like function k, okay, or finding the x value, and then also finding the function x or the y value when you're given a value for a function. So if we remember, so this here is a function. So function x is equal to x squared plus 7x plus 15. So a function, if you remember, it has its domain. Okay, so that's the input values, in this case the values for x, and then that x value gets processed in the function, and then it gives you out a y value or a function x value. So we need to be able to solve when we have either of those values, and we need to be able to distinguish both one from the other. So the first example here is, so a function is given, and this is the function here. And what you're asked to do is to find function 2. So what that means is, so if we think function x, we're trying to work out what's the value of this function when the value of x is 2. Okay, so in this case, so what would that look like? So let's have a look. So what we do is we take this value for x and we substitute it into our function. So it'll look like this. So function 2 is going to be equal to 2 squared plus 7 times 2 plus 15. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. So now what we do is we just solve this. So 2 squared is just 4 plus 14 plus 15. Okay, so function 2, so that's what function 2 is equal to. And then we simplify it. So 14 plus 15 is 29, and then plus 4 is going to be 33. So function 2 is equal to 33. Okay, so that's the first value. So function 2 is equal to 33. Okay, so all we do is we take the value that's inside the function here, which is 2, and we substitute it into our function wherever there is an x value. Okay, so wherever there's an x, you replace it with 2, and then you work it out and you solve it. So function 2 is equal to 32. So that's the first one. The next one then is, what's the value? So what's the value of function 3? Okay, so again, function minus 3. So function minus 3 is going to be equal to, so we just substituting the value into this function here. So it's going to be x squared, which in this case it's going to be minus 3 to be squared. Just do it like that. Plus 7 times minus 3 plus 15. So if we take, so minus 3 to be squared, that's minus 3 by minus 3, that gives me 9 plus 9 plus, sorry, that's not going to be plus. So 7 times minus 3, so 7 and 7 is 14, and 7 is 21, so that's going to be minus 21 plus 15. Okay, so it looks something like that. So now what we want to do is we want to solve this. So if I have minus 21 and I plus 15, that's going to leave me with minus 6, and then plus 9 minus 6 is going to be 9 minus 6, which will be 3. Okay. So function minus 3 is going to be equal to 3. Okay, so this one's equal to 3. And then if we do this one, so function 0, so let's try a different color. Let's go with orange. So function 0, then again we just put the value in. So function 0 is going to be equal to 0, well, so 0 squared and plus 7 times 0 plus 15. Okay, so 0 squared is just 0, 7 times 0 is 0, and that's going to be equal to plus 15. So function 0 is equal to 15. So that's that one, is equal to 15. And then the last one here, so function x, so remember the terminology, we can write this function in a number of ways. So instead of saying function x, we can write, so function x, we can write as function x, we can write it as function x like that, we can write it like this, okay, or we can just call it y. Okay, so again, this value here can be written in a number of ways. So this just means function x. So what we're saying is, with this one, we're trying to work out what the value of x is when the function is equal to 3. So let's have a look at that one and see how we could go about solving that. So let me just change the color on this. Let's do this one in green. So what we're saying is we're taking this function here and we're letting it equal. So function x is going to be equal to 3. So we write it like this. So it's going to be x squared plus 7x plus 15 is equal to 3. And what we have here then, we have what's called a quadratic equation. So what we can do is we can change this so that it's equal to 0, and then we can solve it using the trial and error method for the quadratic equation. So in order to make this equal to 0, we have to get rid of the 3 on this side. So we have to minus 3 from here and minus 3 from here. And that will give us x squared plus 7x. So 15 minus 3 is equal to plus 12 is equal to 0. Okay, and now what we can do is we can use the trial and error method. So we just open two brackets, like so. So we get the factors for this term. Okay, so it's going to be x by x. Okay, and we put those in here on the left hand side, so x and x. And then we get the factors for 12. So the factors for 12 would be, let's say, 1 multiplied by 12. We have 2 multiplied by 3. Let me actually write these up here just so that we have a bit of space so you can actually see them. So the factors for 12, or the factor pairs for 12, are going to be 1 multiplied by 12. So that's one factor pair. We have 2 multiplied by 6. That's another factor pair. And we have 3 multiplied by 4. So now what we have to do is decide which one of these factor pairs do I take and put here in on the left hand side. So the numbers have to they have to multiply to give you 12, but then when you add and subtract them, they have to give you plus 7. So if we have a look at what we have here, so 1 and 12 and multiplied by each other will give us 12, but if we add or subtract them, it won't give us 7, so it's not going to be these guys. 2 and 6, when multiplied by each other, will give us 12, but when we add or subtract them, it's not going to give us plus 7. Okay, and then 3 and 4, when we multiply these by each other, it will give us 12, and then when we add them together, it'll give us plus 7. So these are the factor pairs. So we put these in here on the right hand side. So plus 3 here and plus 4 here. So these are the factor pairs for this quadratic expression here. So when I multiply these together, it'll give me back this expression. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to work out what's the value of x. So what we do is we let each of these be equal to 0. And then we can just solve for x. So for example, we let x plus 3 equal 0. And then we can minus 3 from here and minus 3 from here. And x is going to be equal to minus 3. Okay, so that's the first value. And then we do the same with this guy. So x plus 4 is equal to 0. So then we minus 4 from here and minus 4 from here. And that's going to leave us with x is equal to minus 4. So these are the two values for x. So what we're saying is that when this whole function here is equal to 3, then we can work out using this method that the value for x is going to be minus 3 and x is equal to minus 4. So we can write it like so. So function, so this is the way we'd say it, so function minus 3 is equal to 3, and then also function minus 4 is equal to 3. So all that means is that if I was to take this value of minus 3 and substitute it into the function, it's going to be equal to 3, and we can see that here. We've worked that out here. So for example, function minus 3 is equal to 3, and that's what we've solved here. So function minus 3, when we put minus 3 into the function and we work it out, it's actually equal to 3. So that's what it means by trying to, when the function is equal to 3, we can solve it and work out what the value of x is. So that is finding f function k and function x. that's the process that you follow in relation to it. So hopefully that makes sense, and thank you for listening.